everybody, it's Mel. Thank you for joining me today for a recommending books to other booktubers video. So this is a series that I have been doing on my channel for a couple of years now. I do them very sporadically, but I will link the playlist for them in the description below so that you can go and check them out if you would like to. The idea behind these videos is that I recommend books to other booktubers. I would really recommend that you go and subscribe to all the people that I'm going to talk about today because they're all fantastic and I like every single one of them, which is why I'm recommending them all books. Sometimes I recommend books to people who I'm just wanting to recommend a book to. Sometimes I do get requests for recommendations, so if you would like me to recommend you a book, then please comment down below and let me know, and the next time I do this video I will include you in the recommendations. You don't have to have a YouTube channel if you would like a recommendation. I do recommend to other people. It's titled BookTuber Recs, but you don't have to have a BookTube channel. If you just want a recommendation, then please comment below. If you don't have a BookTube channel though, please include a link to your Instagram or Goodreads or somewhere where I can go and have a look at the kind of books that you like to read so that I can give you a specific personal recommendation. I usually try and make sure that I'm recommending to people who I know have some kind of vague knowledge that I exist, because otherwise I'm just kind of screaming into the void. But I do always like to make sure that I pick someone who I don't necessarily know has any idea that I exist, because I feel like it's a way for me to put myself out there as much as it is a way for me to recommend books and also give a little bit of a shout out to people. Suffice to say that there will always be a bigger channel as well, because that's me putting myself out there. Because I'm a smaller channel, I don't think the bigger channels necessarily are aware of my existence, and it's not like they need to be, but I feel like this is a way to kind of try and put myself out there and make a few more connections and that sort of thing. Whether or not it works, that's a whole different story. But anyway, that's the general idea behind this video. So like I said, if you'd like to have a recommendation from me, please do comment below and include some form of social media so that I can have a look and see what kind of books you like. If it's a BookTube channel, you can just comment with your channel because I'll be able to find it. But if you don't have one, then like Instagram, Goodreads, something like that. So I'm going to start today with the one person who has commented on my most recent of these videos, and that person is Ellen from the channel Ellen Made a Book Club. So thank you, Ellen, for commenting and requesting a recommendation. It's always fun to find new people. I had not come across Ellen's channel before, so I am now aware of Ellen's channel and subscribed and all of those things. So the book that I'm recommending to you today, Ellen, is The Hymn to Dionysus. The reason that I'm recommending this book to you is because I was watching your favourites from last year, so your favourites for the year of 2024 video, and I see that you talked about Circe by Madeline Miller as being a favourite, and you then talked about going on and reading The Song of Achilles and Galatea, or at least you were going to. I'm not 100% sure, can't quite recall exactly what you said there, but you definitely talked about Madeline Miller. Now, Madeline Miller, for those who don't know, is an author who writes Greek mythology retellings. I've read all three myself and I really, really enjoyed them. So the reason that I'm recommending The Hymn to Dionysus by Natasha Pulley today to you, Ellen, is because I feel like if you enjoyed those books by Madeline Miller, then you will enjoy The Hymn to Dionysus. As the name probably gives away, this is also a Greek mythology retelling, and we are talking about Dionysus, who is the Greek god of wine, of ecstasy, of sort of taking yourself outside of yourself, of the other, if that makes sense. But we follow a young man whose name I've actually Phaedrus, I believe. We follow Phaedrus, who is a Theban knight. He's talking about when he came across a young boy called Dionysus when he was a young boy himself, or a baby called Dionysus when he was a young boy himself. Then later how he dreams about this god, and then various interactions that happen around him to do with this myth of this god. At the time, the god is new and no one really knows whether it's a god or a spirit or something strange, some kind of, yeah, mythology, legend, storyline. But strange things happen when this character appears, and it's talking through Phaedrus' experiences throughout his life. I found it really, really interesting, really well written. I really, really enjoyed it. It's one of my favourite books that I've read this year, and I highly recommend it. If you enjoy Madeline Miller's writing style, if you enjoy myth retellings, I think that you would absolutely love The Hymn to Dionysus. So that is why I'm recommending to you today Ellen, The Hymn to Dionysus by Natasha Pulley. Ellen is the only person, like I said, who requested a recommendation. I have got 7 other people who I'm going to recommend books to. These people are all booktubers, as is Ellen, and so therefore, like I said before, I think you should go and subscribe to their channels. Like I said, most of these people are people who I've interacted with to a greater or lesser extent, so they know that I exist. There is one person, however, who probably doesn't know I exist. They are quite a big channel. That person is Elliot Brooks. The channel's name is Elliot Brooks. So Elliot, like I said, is a huge, huge booktuber, so I doubt that they have any idea that I exist. But anyway, hi Elliot. Yeah, I'm going to recommend a book to you today. Elliot is known as a predominantly fantasy reader. They also read a fair bit of manga, I think probably more fantasy again in that sphere as well. I was unsure what to recommend Elliot because I feel like although I also read quite a lot of fantasy, there's probably not a lot of fantasy I would have read that Elliot hasn't read. So I'm actually going to veer away from fantasy because I know that Elliot does occasionally themselves veer away from fantasy and read outside of that genre. And so the book that I'm therefore going to recommend to Elliot is Heartsease by Kate Krumink, I think is how you say the surname. I'm not 100% sure. I have heard it pronounced, but I can't recall. But anyway, the reason that I'm recommending to you Heartsease, Elliot, is because I'm not 100% sure whether it necessarily is classified as literary fiction, but it certainly feels more in that vein to me. It did make me think a little bit of the Stationery Shop of Tehran. I'm not sure whether you've read The Stationery Shop or The Stationery Shop of Tehran. They are, though, the same book by Marjane Kamali. Now, I read this book earlier this year and absolutely loved it. Thought it was incredibly well written, really interesting, and I know that you also really, really enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure you read it this year yourself and you really, really enjoyed it, and they kind of remind me a little bit of each other. So Heartsease is set in Australia. It's by an Australian author, and similar to the Stationery Shop, it has a couple of different timelines, and we follow these sisters in these couple of different timelines, and it is about their experiences throughout their life. We swap backwards and forwards. It's quite hard-hitting. We're discussing some quite difficult things to do with loss and death and grief, but I do think that you would get a lot out of it. Like I said, it reminds me quite a bit of The Stationery Shop of Tehran, which I absolutely adored. I do think The Stationery Shop is a little bit better, to be honest, than Heartsease, but I do think that you would get a lot out of it. I think that you would enjoy the exploration of these characters and their experiences of grief and their different ways that they interact with grief and the different ways that they deal with grief, and how grief affects them and how it affects their relationship with each other and with other people. So that is why I'm recommending to you Elliot, Heartsease by Kate Krumink. The next person that I'm going to recommend a book to today is Leanne Rose, and that is the channel name as well. And the book that I'm recommending to you today, Leanne, is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. The reason that I'm recommending this book to you today is because I literally just this morning watched a video of yours, or rewatched, I think, a video of yours about how you've been getting into cozy fantasy recently. This is a cozy fantasy. I really enjoyed The Spell Shop. I thought it was really well written. I loved the characters. I loved the way that we explore sort of the concepts of fitting in, of finding yourself, of making friendships, found family, all of that sort of thing. We also explore romance. There is a romance in there. We also explore kind of women's autonomy a little bit as well, which I think is really interesting, and I think it's all really, really well done, really well written, but also it's just a really nice, cozy, fun time, and I really think that that's something that you would enjoy and appreciate. So that is the reason, Leanne, that I'm recommending to you The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. Then we have Denise from the channel Chaos in Bookland. So Denise, I am recommending quite the throwback book to you. I'm going to be recommending, well, specifically The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, but in general, The Chronicles of Narnia. I couldn't find anywhere on any of your socials that you had read The Chronicles of Narnia, specifically, obviously, like I said, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And I know that you love middle grade, adventure, fun, whimsical fantasy. I know that you love fantasy in general. And I feel like The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is such a staple of kids middle grade fantasy. It's a classic of that genre, and I just feel like you should read it. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that it is the best of its type. Certainly, I would say that more modern books like the Morrigan Crow series, books of those nature are probably better written, certainly don't have the really obvious, what's what I'm looking for, evangelical pushing Christianity, which I think you would all agree if you've read the books that the Chronicles of Narnia are a bit like that. But like I said, it's just a staple of that type of fantasy that I feel like you should experience them. So that is why I'm recommending The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe to you. I do think that you enjoy it. I definitely think that you would probably find some holes in the overall story, but I think that C.S. Lewis wrote a really lovely world, a really lovely story. It's very cozy, and yeah, I just think that you would enjoy it. So that is why, Denise, I'm recommending to you The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Now I'm going to recommend a book to Callie from the channel Kapowski Reads. To you, Callie, I'm going to recommend Earthling by Sayaka Murata. Caveat on this one, it is quite an odd book, and near the end of the book there's some stuff that happens that is quite full on, and I personally found a little bit hard to get my head around, get myself around. It was a little hard to read, but the reason I'm recommending this book to you is because I feel like you really, really enjoy books that are quite weird. You really enjoy books that have weird, specifically female protagonists. I feel like therefore this really fits the bill. I don't know whether you've read it or not. I couldn't find your Goodreads, and trawling through old videos is, it's a little bit harder than necessarily looking at Goodreads, but I did think to myself that I wanted to recommend something of this nature, so I'm going with Earthling by Sayaka Murata. Like I said, it is really quite strange, but we follow a woman in Japan who kind of grows up believing herself to be an alien. She feels like she doesn't fit in with her family, with her cultural set up, with the world that she lives in, and she is pretty convinced that she's an alien. And then it's about her growing up and trying to fit in with the society in which she lives, even though she's still convinced that she's an alien. It has some interesting themes and interesting discussions around sort of that concept of like not fitting in, not knowing your place. It's not stated on page, but you do get the sense that this person is neurodivergent in some way. But yeah, it's just talking about that concept and exploring that idea, but from a little bit more of a, yeah, like I said, like a little bit more of a kind of weird girl lit kind of lens, I guess. I don't know whether you would like it or not. I personally don't really know how I feel about it. I found it interesting, but I found it quite hard going, particularly at the end. There was some very strange stuff that happened, and I'm still not really sure where I come down on this one, but I do think that you would enjoy exploring some of the themes, some of the concepts, and I think you just like weird girl lit, so I think that you would enjoy it from that point of view. So I'm hoping that you do, and that is why to you, Callie, I am recommending Earthling by Sayaka Murata. Sorry if anything has changed. The baby is with their dad, but their dad wanted to do something, and so I was briefly looking after the baby. So anyway, things may have changed. Anyhow, moving on to the next person who I want to recommend a book to today, and that person is Vina from the channel Ms. WOC Reader, I think is the name of the channel. Please forgive me if I'm incorrect. Anyway, the book that I'm going to recommend to you today, Vina, is Love Unleashed by Melanie Seward. So the reason that I'm recommending this book to you is because I know that you do read quite a bit of romance and contemporary fiction, which I would classify this as more contemporary fiction, but it definitely has a strong romantic plot or subplot, and I think that it would be right up your alley. It is by an Australian Indigenous author, and the main character, whose name I've totally forgotten, is an Australian Indigenous woman. It is a queer romance, and yeah, I just think it ticks a lot of boxes for you and what you like, or what I've seen you talk about. So we follow this person who lives in Queensland in Australia, and they have applied for, I think that it is either a residency at some kind of publishing house, or it is a graduate program at some kind of creative writing place. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, it is a very prestigious program to do with writing, which takes place in New York City. She has applied for this, and she decides to go to New York despite not knowing whether she got in or not yet, because there's various reasons why, but she decides to go to New York. So she needs to find somewhere to live, and she needs to find a job. She ends up getting a job at a doggy daycare kind of thing, and it's just about her kind of both exploring New York but also exploring herself, meeting new people who open up new kind of avenues to her, and she goes through a bit of a kind of reevaluation of herself and her life and realizing some things about herself. It's a bit of a sexual awakening kind of story, and just a general coming of age type of story, although she's not technically coming of age because she's finished university, so she's a bit older than that. But that style of story, finding yourself, figuring a bit more about yourself, finding your way in life, your purpose, what you want to do. And I think that all of those, plus there's a romantic subplot, like I said, I think all of that would be something that you would enjoy, that you would find interesting. And I think that you would find it interesting because it is from this perspective of a person of colour, which I know that you do read a lot of different books from people of colour, and I think therefore this would resonate with you quite well. I don't know if you've read any or many books written by Australian Aboriginal authors or with Australian Aboriginal characters, so I think that it would be a different perspective that you maybe haven't come across very often, which I think you would enjoy as well. So I just think it ticks a lot of boxes, and I'm hoping, Vina, that you would really, really enjoy Love Unleashed by the person I said it was by. Then I would like to recommend a book to Angela from Angela Rose Reads. And the book that I'm going to recommend to you today, Angela, is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. So just like The Hymn to Dionysus, this is also a Greek mythology retelling. And similar to the reasons that I recommended The Hymn to Dionysus to Ellen, I'm recommending Ariadne to you today, Angela. Because I don't know if it was on your channel or your Goodreads, but I saw that you have read a few different Greek mythology retellings. You seem to quite enjoy those as a concept in general, retellings in general, and I think that you would really, really enjoy this one. I personally absolutely love Jennifer Saint's writing style. I really, really enjoyed Ariadne, loved Electra. Have a couple more books of hers on my shelf to read, but anyway, I really enjoy Jennifer Saint as an author, and I did really enjoy Ariadne. So this is sort of a feminist retelling of the myth of Ariadne and the myth of Dionysus, the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur, and it's all from Ariadne's perspective. So Ariadne is the daughter of Minos, the king of Crete, and she's the person who helped Theseus escape the labyrinth, if you know anything about that. And it's, yeah, from her perspective, why she made that choice, how Theseus seduced her, what happened when he left her, her relationship with Dionysus, all of that stuff is talked about from her perspective, which I think is really, really interesting, and I really, really enjoyed how Jennifer Saint approached that. So I do think that you would really enjoy this. I'm very much obviously hoping that you would. And yeah, that is why I'm recommending to you Angela Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. And then the final person that I'm recommending a book to today is Jade from the channel Jade Juniper. Jade, today I am recommending The Liar's Test, or possibly it's just Liar's Test, by Amberlynn Quay Molina. The reason that I'm recommending this book to you today is because I feel like it is the kind of book that you really like. I know that you have written your own sort of epic-ish, cozy-ish fantasy, something that would fit within the sort of mesh of those two genres. I have not personally read your book. I apologise. It's definitely on my list of books I'm interested in reading. I just haven't got there yet. But I have heard from Victoria, from what Victoria read, that it is fantastic. It is cozy. There's a lot of interesting magic, it's a bit of a romantasy, and it's got that kind of epic flavour but cozy at the same time. There's a romance, that sort of thing. And I feel like, therefore, you would really, really enjoy Liar's Test by Amberlynn Quay Molina, because it has a lot of those similar elements. So it is a fantasy, but it is with some epic sort of flavour to it, but it is also cozy. So quite similar to what I've heard your book being described as. I'm assuming you've written the book like that because that's the kind of thing you enjoy yourself. And so therefore I do think that you would enjoy this book because it's quite similar sounding. So I really enjoyed the book. I really enjoy Amberlynn Quay Molina's writing style. I like the way she puts worlds together. I like her world building, and so I do personally recommend this book, and I think that you would really enjoy it. So therefore I am recommending to you today Jade, Liar's Test by Amberlynn Quay Molina. That's the end of the recommendations for today. Those are all the booktubers and all of the recommendations I have for all of those people. Thank you so much to Ellen again for requesting a recommendation, and all the people who I've recommended books to even though you didn't request a recommendation. I hope that you don't mind, and I hope that you potentially will one day read the book that I've recommended to you today. Please comment below if you are one of those people, so I know that you've seen the video and what you think of the recommendation. If you would like, as I said before, if you would like a recommendation from me, then please comment that below as well. Let me know a place where I can go and find out some information about the types of books that you read, so I can make sure that I recommend a book that you are potentially going to enjoy, whether that be a booktube channel, whether it be Instagram, Goodreads, somewhere where I can go and check that information out. Like I said before, you do not have to be a booktuber, that's just the name of the video. I do tend to mostly recommend to booktubers, but that's because I'm a booktuber myself, but you do not by any means have to be a booktuber in order to get a recommendation from me, so please comment below if you'd like one. And if you are not after a recommendation and you're not featured in this video but you'd like to leave me a comment, please do so. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me some kind of foliage, because there's quite a bit of foliage on some of the different covers that I've talked about today. So yeah, leave me some foliage emoji. But that's it from me today. So I really do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.